Hey everyone, welcome to the next episode, third episode, I believe, of 31 Days of Halloween, 31 Days of Horror, whatever you want to call it. And so today I'm going to be talking about the movies I've watched this past week, which is the October 15th to the 21st. So this week was pretty good, pretty good. I had a few duds, but overall it was pretty good. Thank you to everybody who has watched and commented and subscribed recently. I appreciate your support. Sorry I bumped the camera. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. I'm okay. I'm gonna finish it out to the 31st this year, but I'll try to think of something different next year, I think, because I'm really finding it hard to just watch a horror movie every day. Like, because I like other kinds of movies, as you probably guessed from previous reviews and stuff. And so I'm not always in the mood for horror movies. So this was a bit challenging, but we're making it work. So the first one I watched last week on the 15th was Sleepaway Camp 3, A Teenage Wasteland. This is directed by Michael A. Simpson from 1989. This stars Pamela Springsteen as the Angela character, Tracy Griffith, Mark Oliver, and Michael J. Pollard. That DVD was taken from this Sleepaway Camp set, which I got a couple of years ago, which is now out of print, and I understand pretty desirable. I don't know why. I think some people just collect for the sake of collecting. They don't even care what the movies. Come on now. Part 1 was great. I will admit that till the cows come home, but 2 and 3, no. This is the third one. This movie and part 2 were filmed back to back in a 6-week period. So to give you some indication of the quality, this currently has a 5 out of 10 on IMDb and a 20% on Rotten Tomatoes. So Movies A to Z said, calm and cool performance by Springsteen as Slasher Angela makes this the best of the 3 films. Well, that is definitely not true, but this was put out by Anchor Bay back in the early 2000s. I thought this movie was really bad. I'm sorry. And I know there's a lot of people that love it, and so don't be writing to me with all your sad comments, because I know there's fans of this movie. I know there's fans of this type of movie. I am just not one of them. But I really did like the first one. Honestly, I really did like the first one. And I was willing to give 2 and 3 a try. Maybe 2 was a little bit better, but this is just silly. I mean, this is a summer, it's supposed to be like summertime. And then there's a scene where there's snow on the ground and you can see people's breath because it's so cold, and then it cuts back to summer. Like, it's just too dumb for me. I can't go there with you. But I'll say, I guess some of the kills could have been cool, but again, with the low budget, you just can't. It just can't happen. Again, don't get offended. It's just my opinion. I know lots of people who love those movies. The next movie I watched was VHS 2. I watched this. I picked this up a couple of years ago. Never got around to watching it. This is an horror anthology, for those of you who don't know, although I'm guessing most people do. The directors involved in this were Jason Eisner, a fellow Nova Scotian, Gareth Wu Edwards, Timo Gianto, Eduardo Sanchez, Greg Hale, Simon Barrett, and Adam Wingard. Probably Adam Wingard's the best known, I think, of all of those. But so this is like the shot on video type stuff, the found footage. Again, not my thing. People are probably saying, like, why do you buy these movies if you don't like these things? But I do have a reason. It was because of Jason Eisner on this one, who's a director from the province where I live in Canada. And so I was really curious. This has got the short, what's it called? Slumber Party Alien Abduction is the short by Jason Eisner. That eventually became a full-length film, Kids vs. Aliens, which if you want my thoughts on that, I did review that a year or two ago. The standouts for me on here, there's one called A Ride in the Park, which is like a zombie cyclist story. I'm a cyclist, so I was immediately like, oh, this is cool. I like this. Not that I hope I get attacked by zombies on the trail, but relatable, I guess, for me. But I thought it was cool. The zombies in it were really good. Just the whole story was kind of neat. It's a guy going for a bike ride. He calls his girlfriend before he leaves, and he's like, yep, just going for a little ride, babe. Be back soon. Love you, blah, blah, blah. And then he gets out, and there's this woman like coughing up black goo, and it turns out there's like these zombies in the woods. And madness ensues. And yeah, I thought it was really clever. The other one was called Safe Haven. That's the other one I really liked, which is kind of like or not kind of, it is a cult called the Paradise Gate. And these filmmakers go in to interview the leader of the Paradise Gate. And it's really, really creepy. I don't like those kinds of things creep me out anyway, like cults and stuff like that. And this one I thought was really well done, very atmospheric. Those were definitely my two favorites. Slumber Party Alien Abduction was fun too, very jarring. I found like by the time I was done watching this Blu-ray, I felt kind of upset. Like I really don't like, I like Blair Witch, and I can't think of maybe the first Paranormal Activity, but I really don't like those found footage movies. The emotion of it makes me feel kind of unsettled. And this one, I felt really weird after watching this. And of course, there was a lot of dark stuff in this one. Aliens and cults and zombies, and I just found it really unsettling. But so I would recommend this if you like the found footage, if you like the VHS series. I have not seen all of them. Probably not going to really go out of my way to see them just because I'm not a big fan of that stuff. But it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. The next one up, I watched a bit of a cheat. I did see this, but I did not see this until probably the year 1990. This came out in 1989. It's Parents, which is a black comedy horror film. I would even argue like a surrealistic horror. This was directed by Bob Balaban, who directed a lot of TV and a lot of stuff, including, and acted in a lot of stuff, including Close Encounters, Altered States, and Ghost World, among lots of other credits. But he mostly directed TV. I think this is the only full length maybe that he directed. But this stars Randy Quaid, Mary Beth Hurt, Sandy Dennis, and Brian Modorsky. Randy Quaid, right there, you may recognize from the National Lampoon's Vacation movies. He's Cousin Eddie. And this was, I just learned today, was filmed in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, my home country. So that was kind of cool to learn that after all these years. This was a kind of a bomb. It grossed, surprisingly, it actually grossed $870,000 approximately on a $3 million budget, which I'm like, I don't know where the $3 million went in this film. Probably set design. This was set in the 50s, so there was a lot of effort put into the set design and the costumes and all that stuff. So yeah, this has a 6.1 out of 10 on IMDb and a 63% Rotten Tomatoes. I have not seen this since I was 19 years old. I'm now almost 55, and I had totally forgotten. That's why I'm kind of including it in this, because I really wanted to rewatch it after all these years, because I've really forgotten a lot about it. And the thing I noticed this time around was, like, I think I didn't really care for it back in the day, but watching it now, I'm like, wow, this was like very surreal and very strange. And again, the set design was incredible. It kind of reminded me a bit of Tim Burton, like really, really big rooms with like 60s furniture, kind of an alienating kind of like depth to it. Really spooky. And that kind of took me a bit by shock, because I was expecting this just to be like a black comedy / horror movie. I won't tell you what the premise is really, but because you can't really say without giving it away. But suffice to say, the parents are feeding the kids some strange meat, and it turns out it's, you could probably guess, but it's got some really weird sequences in it that kind of put me in mind of David Lynch. Kind of weird soundtrack anomalies, like just white noise and very alienating feeling. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's my type of movie. So glad I got to rewatch that. I'll probably rewatch that again down the road. I thought it was just really fun. Yeah, yeah. I guess I should be reading the synopsis maybe off the back of these, but the next one up I got, again, I cheated a little bit. Now, I've been really on a VHS bender lately. I've been watching a lot of VHS tapes for some reason. So even though I had this, recently got this movie on Blu-ray, I did watch Sleepy Hollow on VHS, the 1999 version with Johnny Depp and Christina Ricci, directed by Tim Burton, produced by Francis Ford Coppola. This is like Tim Burton's retelling of the Sleepy Hollow legend. I think I've never read the story, but the actual Washington Irving story. But I think this is quite a bit different from that. But yeah, this has always been a favorite of mine ever since I saw it. I think I mentioned a few videos back that I went to see that movie by myself in the movie theater, and I actually was really creeped out by that movie. I thought it had really cool ambience, much like Parents, almost like it had like this sort of weird depth to it. Like it's hard to explain, but like it's almost like you're looking really deep into the movie. And I love those kinds of movies where the sets or the landscape is like got really incredible depth to it. And Sleepy Hollow for me does that. Kind of like looking over the town, and you can see the watchtowers off in the distance, and then the woods beyond that, and you hear the gunshots. You know, there's been another murder, and I just really like that. This movie has always given me the chills, even though it's really not that scary, but it's got that. Of course, I think Tim Burton was going for a Hammer horror kind of aesthetic, and so it's got that kind of vibe to it too. And when I was younger, like the Hammer movies used to really freak me out too, just because those were some of the earlier movies I watched, and some of the early horror movies I watched. And so Sleepy Hollow always does it for me. Great cast of other folks in here too. Miranda Richardson, Jeffrey Jones. Music by Danny Elfman. Yeah, just great stuff. If you've never seen this version, highly recommend it. Great Halloween watch. Great autumnal season watch for people who like that kind of thing. It's got great, if you really like that, you know, the leaves changing colors, and that opening scene when the carriage is going down the road into that depth. Oh, it just gives me goosebumps just talking about it. So yeah, I would highly recommend that one. The next one up I watched was another one of these first time watches. This one is Phase 4. Yeah, I found this VHS a couple of years ago, and I was really happy I did, because this is really cool. One day I went into Value Village, and I came out with an armload of just really weird random VHS tapes, like really cool ones, really cool old ones, all in pretty good condition. So I was really happy to watch this. Finally did get around to watching this for 31 Days of Halloween. This is a sci-fi horror movie directed by Saul Bass, who this is his only full-length directorial outing. He did, apparently was an excellent graphic designer and title card creator on films, including Hitchcock's Psycho. And he also designed a whole bunch of really famous company logos, including like AT&T with the circle. Like he designed like hundreds of company logos. So a really interesting fellow. It'd almost be cool to know more about him, Saul Bass. But this is his only directorial outing. This stars Michael Murphy, Nigel Davenport, and Lynn Frederick. It was a box office flop at the time, 1974. But over time it became a cult favorite. I think cable TV really helped it, and probably home video. On a side note, because you guys know, if you've been watching my videos for a while, you know I love Panos Cosmatos, who directed Mandy. He apparently described Phase 4 as having been a very significant influence on the look and feel of his science fiction film Beyond the Black Rainbow. So definitely could see that. This has a 6.4 out of 10 on IMDb and a 53% on Rotten Tomatoes. This is a slow burn. I was happy I watched it. I probably will watch it again. This is for fans of like Silent Running, Saturn 3, maybe a little bit Logan's Run, real slow burn 70s sci-fi. This is also like a bug movie, although the bugs really aren't that terrifying. There's a couple scenes in there that are pretty gross, but overall this is, I would say, more of a psychological sci-fi thriller. But again, very slow. So if you don't like that kind of thing, you're probably not going to dig this. But I thought it was cool. As I mentioned, I think a few videos ago, I'm really listening to a lot of Tangerine Dream and Genesis and Klaus Schultz and stuff like that. I'm really in that headspace of like 70s kind of cosmic music. And this movie, as soon as it came on, I was like, oh, this is just totally fitting the vibe of my life right now. It had cool, like, kind of synthesizer music. It doesn't say who did the music, but anyway, great. Love this. Love the little, it says horror sci-fi on the box, Paramount. This is an old tape. I don't know if the year of the tape is on here, but can't see it. It's, oh yeah, I meant to also say this is from National Video, which was a video chain. I don't know if they were only in Canada, but that was the video. That was always my video store, and it was there before Blockbuster, so that National Video was always like kind of had a special place in my heart, and that's where I got a lot of these weird early horror and cult movies. So shout out to National Video. If anyone remembers National Video, leave a comment below, because for me that was my place to go get movies. Yeah, so IMDb, this Phase 4 has a 6.4 out of 10 and a 53% on Rotten Tomatoes, if I didn't already mention that. So yeah, again, if you're into slow burn 70s sci-fi, moody, maybe like Solaris even, or like somewhere along those lines, I kind of, after watching this, I was like, I gotta dig out my copy of Solaris and rewatch that as well, because it's just where my head's at. So maybe I'm a little biased, but I thought it was really cool. The next movie up I watched, which I got in a thrifting haul a couple weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, The Woman in Black. This is a British made-for-TV movie from 1989, directed by Herbert Wise, mostly known as a TV director. This stars Adrian Rollins, Bernard Hepton, David Dacre, and Pauline Moran. This premiered on TV on Christmas Eve 1989, which, I don't know, I thought that was a really cool fact. I was like, oh, imagine being like in Britain and this comes on Christmas Eve. Like, it's not really a cozy, feel-good Christmas movie. In fact, the end is like so bleak and so depressing. But I can imagine I think this was fairly popular when it aired the first time. It didn't re-air until 1994 on TV, and I think it remained out of print for quite some time. This VHS, I don't know if it says what year it came out, but this was put out by BFS Video out of Ontario, Canada. This has a 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb, and it has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. I didn't look to see how many reviews that was based on, but in this spine-chilling Victorian ghost story, Arthur Kidd, played by Adrian Rollins, a solicitor is sent to settle up the estate of a dead client named Alice Drablow. When he arrives in the small village of Crithen Gifford, he comes up against some strong local prejudice and superstition. During the course of his work, he is haunted by the sight of a sinister, mysterious woman dressed in black, who, according to local custom, has put a curse on the village. In saving the life of a young gypsy girl, I don't know if that's PC anymore, but Kidd becomes embroiled in the macabre curse that haunts the village. Excuse me. Still getting over my cold. His innocent interference fuels the wrath of the mysterious figure known as the Woman in Black and drives him to the brink of insanity. The Woman in Black. Yeah, I watched another tape. I've been watching so many VHS tapes lately. I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm just in the mood for it. The Woman in Black, of course, was remade many years later with Daniel Radcliffe, better known from the Harry Potter series. This was actually put out by Hammer Horror I don't know if they're still around, or they tried to like reinvigorate Hammer Horror, and I think this might have been the sort of comeback movie. So The Woman in Black from 1989, made for TV. The story is basically the same. This is a lot less scary, I guess. But it is creepy, I won't lie. There are some scenes, you see her in the background a lot, and I think it was done really effectively. Off in the distance, again, there's that depth, but in a cemetery off in the distance, and he sees her and starts to run away, and then she's like closer to him, and that's quite spooky. And then at the end, there's a scene where she's hovering over his bed, and it's like really scary. Like, you could see where a lot of those Japanese horror movies got their inspiration for those camera angles of like those one, like, I'm trying to think, is it The Ring or The Grudge, where the person lifts up the sheets and there's something coming up, and then it's like, or something's floating over them. Like, it had that in it, and that was like, I'm here alone in the country in the dark at night, and I'm like, eesh, this was creepy. But I definitely prefer this version just because it's way more scary, and the way the house is shot is really creepy. But the house in the old one, though, the one that I watched, I thought was still really good. Now, before I get to the very last movie, I wanted to say also I watched a couple more horror movies that I'm not talking about just because I didn't watch them at home, and they're ones that I've seen a billion times and everybody else has done reviews on them. But I did, for the first time in my 54 and a half years on planet Earth, I went to a drive-in and I saw a double feature. It was A Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984 and Poltergeist from 1982. I went with my sister. We had a great time. They had a canteen there with some delicious hamburgers and fries and sodas and candy bars, and it was wonderful. And sat in the car and enjoyed two classic horror movies back to back. And my sister and I talked about the movies, and she's not as big of a nerd about horror movies as I am, so of course I couldn't resist telling her, different things about the movies. But yeah, Poltergeist is one of my sister's favorite horror movies. She was really hoping they would play Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 because that's her favorite Nightmare movie. But I assured her, because she had not seen Part 1 in a long time, I was like, I assure you the first one is actually really scary, and Freddy's, to me, he's way more scary and ghoulish than the first one. He doesn't do his cheesy one-liners. He's only in the movie for like 10 minutes in total. But anyway, it was really fun to see those on the big screen at a drive-in and hanging out with my best buddy and my sister, and just, it was really fun. And again, my mom says I went to see a drive-in when I was about 3.5 years old, but obviously I don't remember that. It was probably a grown-up movie. I don't remember that at all. So I'm calling this my first drive-in experience. And so shout out to the Valley Drive-In where I live for doing that. They did a poll. People could vote for their favorite ones. I was thinking later on, or while I was watching those movies on the big screen and the drive-in, I was thinking, for me, I think it would be Return of the Living Dead and the first Halloween double feature. I think that would be cool. So maybe they'll do it again next year, and who knows? We'll see what happens. But yeah, it was really, really fun. Thoroughly enjoyed myself. And then the last movie I watched for this week for 31 Days of Halloween, Scream and Scream Again, starring Vincent Price, Christopher Lee, and Peter Cushing. This is also a horror sci-fi movie directed by Gordon Hessler, who did The Oblong Box, The Golden Voyage of Sinbad, and a whole bunch of other stuff. None of the actors in the appear on the screen together except for the very end, when Christopher Lee and Vincent Price appear just for a brief period. This movie has a 5.5 out of 10 on IMDb and a 63% Rotten Tomatoes. I bought this movie a couple of years ago. I way overpaid for it because I didn't realize how expensive it was at the cash register, and I paid for it, and I was like, oh god, I just paid like $35 for that movie. And then I put it on and I was like, oh my god, this is so dumb. Not a fan of this movie. This is a Kino Lorber release. It's got a reversible jacket too, which is cool. There's the, I guess that's maybe the, I don't know if that, I don't know which one's the original. You guys can leave comments below. Then on the inside you've got that, which is obviously quite a bit more graphic. Or maybe both of them were used at the time, I don't know. But this movie's really confusing, and I really wanted to give it a try because I love all these actors, and I thought, damn, I must be missing something. And what I was missing was the last about 5 to 10 minutes of the movie where apparently they explain everything. It's kind of a mess of a movie. It's they say that this director is like a cult. He's like a well-revered like cult director. I haven't seen The Oblong Box, but this movie I just don't think is for me. This is from 1970. I don't really get like the sci-fi element. It had, it felt kind of like a James Bond movie at times, like the action. It had like a James Bondy sounding soundtrack of like this kind of like funky rock disco music. It's got some vampirism in it, like vampire kind of stuff. It's got like a sci-fi element. It's got a serial killer, like, Jack the Ripper kind of vibe. I think it's just a mess. It's just trying to do way too many things all at once. I think basically when it boils down to is it's like a body parts movie. So it's like, oh, they're basically creating like Frankenstein monsters basically out of body parts. But it's like this really weird roundabout way to tell you that, which makes no sense to me anyway. I was like, women are getting murdered and sexually assaulted by somebody, and we don't know who it is. And then Christopher Lee's wearing like this sort of Nazi looking garb, and they're talking about like airplanes, and like I was just like, what the hell is this movie anyway? Even the last 10 minutes really not satisfying. If people who have previously watched this movie say, oh, it gets wrapped up in the last 10 minutes, it's like, okay, whatever you say. This will be a one and done for me. I'll probably get rid of this Blu-ray. Not my thing, but real bummer though, because those three actors, damn, like. But again, they don't appear on the screen together, so except for that little bit at the end. But goofy movie, really goofy. Let me know your thoughts on it. Maybe I'm looking at it through the wrong eyes, but any of the stuff I read about it, like reviews from back when it came out, people were just like confused and thought it was just silly and disjointed and really not able to follow it. So that was this week's 31 days countdown to Halloween. Let me know what you watched or what you thought about those movies. I can't say all of them were winners for sure, but there was a couple of good ones. My top picks for this week, probably Woman in Black, the made-for-TV movie from '89. Phase 4, again, if you want a slow burn sci-fi horror, or sci-fi really. And Parents with Randy Quaid from 1989. Highly recommend that as well if you can get your hands on it. I think that's been reissued on Blu-ray, if I'm not mistaken, by one of those boutique labels. But yeah, that's it for today. I did have fun this week watching the movies, and I've already started in on next week. Last night I watched The Rage, Carrie 2. So I'll be giving my thoughts on that next Monday. Or Tuesday. But yeah, that's it for today. If you made it this far to almost 30 minutes, thank you for watching, and thank you for commenting, and thank you for subscribing. Follow me over on Instagram at Night Owl Video, where I occasionally update things, but I'm pretty slack with it. Best to just subscribe to the channel and put the bell notification on. So I'll be back next week with another one. Let's see how many more. I should have looked up on the calendar. So next week will be the 28th. Tell you what, I'm probably just going to wait till October 31st, and I'll just do a recap of the week and a half worth of movies, and that way it'll kind of wrap up this series with 4 videos. And then we're into November, and of course I've already started to see the holiday Christmas crap is coming around already, so there's that to look forward to, I guess. But I'm always really sad at the end of October because I do like Halloween and the spooky season and the fall, as do a lot of people in the horror community and on YouTube. So, but hey, let's not get bummed out yet. We still have another week and a half of cool movies coming up, so be sure to tune in. It'll be October 31st or November 1st, and I'll drop my final video for this series. And yeah, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'll see you at the video store or the thrift store or just out and about somewhere. But until next time, take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video.